Deeper down the rabbit hole we go as we continue to find even more disturbing and confusing conspiracies. Underneath lie theories that are more creepier in nature, some of which also contain far too much information to cover in a linear fashion, which is why I decided to split the series into 2 episodes. In this episode, I'm going to separate these other theories into their own personal sections. Today's video will continue off the previous, so if you haven't watched the last video, I highly recommend doing so before watching this. For those not certain on the topic, in May of 2020, 4chan threads continuing Super Mario 64's lore began spreading. Pictures and videos surrounding a Super Mario 64 Iceberg tier list started appearing more frequently throughout June, popularizing the iceberg and the theories that accompany it. In this video, layers 4 to 5 will be covered here, as the information contained in them were too long to be covered in the previous video. After the iceberg is explained in full, at least, what there is to my own knowledge and own speculation, I will then discuss the Wario apparition, theories involving Wet Dry World, the 1995 build, and the mysterious and unsettling website stlayer.info. Once again, me and 2 of my noteworthy friends spent a long time attempting to uncover mysteries behind the iceberg and some of its deeper contents. Some of the theories discussed here and footage shown might be disturbing to some viewers, so viewer discretion is highly advised. Hope you all enjoyed today's video. Welcome to Part 2 of Glacial Meltdown, a Super Mario 64 ARG. Alright, starting off, we're entering below the iceberg and into the deep water. Like the last video, I'm referring back to Freud's iceberg, connecting its symbolism to the Mario 64 iceberg once again. Here, we're nearing the end of his iceberg as the end of the unconscious mind cannot be measured any further. Meaning, we're branching off of the last thoughts of the desires the mind wants and entering beneath the berg. In relation to the Mario 64 iceberg, this signifies that we're entering an area of theories that are extremely obscure and unheard of. Even some theories that have been made just for the iceberg that either don't make sense at all, or are just flat out fake. First up in layer 4, we have the ally with info. In Mario 64, the base one, there's a toad on the second highest floor that tells Mario about things that are not reflective in the mirror room. In Mario 64 DS, there's an additional line that's added to this dialogue, and an ally with info at the end of the sentence. This ally could be referring to Luigi, as you have to use the power flower to go through the mirror in the mirror room to access the Wario painting and unlock Wario. Bowser Painting Course questions the idea of entering the Bowser painting while dodging the entrance to Bowser in the Dark World. Although, if it's accessed through backwards long jumping, nothing happens. The painting is a solid texture. Footage will also be in the description if you are interested in seeing this in action. Metal Mario texture. The Metal Mario texture went unknown for a long time, until Twitter user eCumber discovered that it's a default metal texture from the SGI workstation, flipped and compressed down to a 64x64 texture for the game. Peach and stained glass window. The backgrounds of the texture of the stained glass window on the front and in the first floor of Peach's castle are different. Peach also comes out of the stained glass window once the game is beaten, the final boss is defeated, whatnot. Players speculated that Bowser, when he managed to get into the castle, trapped her inside of a small passageway between the outside stained glass painting and the inside one, a small little room in between. Next up we have the Bowser room, which was a fake render crafted up by Chris O'Neill, aka Oni Plays.
Did you see my Crash Bandicoot 3D render I did when I was 13? Well,
I saw your fake Mario 64 hoax where he was just in a room looking out.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
How did you see that?
You sent it to me.
When?
You sent it to me like a year ago.
Whoa!
He's just looking through the window and Bowser's at the window.
I printed that out and I brought it to school and I said, "Look, it's real." I can't believe I sent you that. Do you still have it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't, because I lost it.
It's just a tiny gray room.
Yeah, it's just no point. I was like, I found this room where you can see Bowser.
There's nothing there. This is all he can do.
I made this fake fucking screenshot, and I was like, they'll all believe me now.
You thought you were real sneaky.
Yeah.
The forbidden door most likely refers to the door on the other side of the mirror room. It is accessible in Mario 64 DS, but not in Mario 64. Pretty self-explanatory. Then again, this forbidden door could be talking about something else that I'm not familiar with. That's just my thoughts. Hazy Maze Cave is a sewer. Discusses how the room surrounding the level's entrance pond area contains pipes that are going throughout the entire room. There's an image that accompanies this theory that I fucking hate, but I'll share it here just for the laughs because I know that some people will probably laugh at it just of how stupid it is. Bowser broke the door is similar to how he got his submarine into the castle from the previous layer. There is a darker patch of bricks in the castle courtyard that are different from the normal bricks, so this theory suggests that maybe Bowser broke through the back of the castle, and repairs need to be made because of it, which causes the different texture, color, and hue for the bricks. Next we have Bowser fight used Wiggler body parts, and this theory tells that the orbs or bombs used in the Bowser boss fight arenas seem to be the same sprites as the orbs that make up Wiggler's body in Tiny Huge Island. This theory is somewhat correct but the ones, the body parts that make up Wiggler are an expanded version of the Bowser bomb textures, because the Bowser bomb textures are 32x32 and Wiggler's body is 64x64. So I think this theory is pretty well correct. Ellis Fake 2401 is a little funny as its own theory, because I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be talking about how the Luigi rumor Ellis Real 2401 is fake, even though recently he was discovered to be in the game's leaked source code, so this theory can easily be crossed off the list. Long jump clock. Now, this one is a little bit of a stretch, and it was taken from the longer image that I showed in the intro, starting, quote, "Supposedly, you could date each of the levels by how many perfect long jumps are possible. For example, in Cuckoo Mountain, you can jump from the starting point onto a little bit of a slide and then onto the bridge. That means the movement was finalized at that point in development." End quote. Like I said earlier, this theory is a little bit of a stretch, as I wouldn't say the levels were finalized at that point in development. More so that they scoped out building levels through Mario's movement capability. Cuckoo Mountain was also one of the last levels to be made because they overhauled the entire design from scratch after the beta version of the game, or the one that was shown off in the 1995 E3. Like I said, this is a little bit of a iffy theory, so do a little bit more research if you have any questions, because I'm not too certain what it means myself. Silicon Graphics Curse. In 1993, Nintendo made a deal with Silicon Graphics to assist with the development of the N64. Silicon built the GPU of the console, and they also slightly helped with the development of Mario 64. And after the success of the game, Silicon Graphics was quickly antiquated by Growing Tech that it was troublesome on their own behalf to port their own technology, and poor business decisions eventually led to the company's downfall, therefore labeling the curse of the company. The next theory, Full Omen Archives, also slightly ties into the Silicon Graphics curse, as in the early days of Nintendo 64 emulation, an ex-Silicon Graphics employee had leaked Nintendo patented documents from the company and posted all of these in a .rar file onto the internet called omen.rar, which is also unknown as to why it was called this. This leaked RAR file containing a lot of N64 emulation sparked the fire for Nintendo 64 emulation during this time. Toads trapped in the walls or toad projection. This one is a little bit of a tricky one because not a whole lot is known about this outside of a couple dialogue boxes, and I also think it might have two meanings. One, the first meaning, is that the Toad NPCs in the castle could disappear when you get too far away from them, which caused them to be placed inside the walls, or Toads being projected onto the walls due to in-game draw distance and hardware limitations. That's the technical reason. The second reason could be a bit of world building and a bit of Mario lore scattered into Mario 64. I say this because, for those unaware, The manual for Super Mario Bros. On the NES mentioned how Bowser turned the Toads into bricks. When he took over the castle in this game, he could have done the same with the Toads and turned them into the bricks and foundation of the castle, and this can even be backed up by a bit of dialogue from Bowser in the final battle of the game, which I will show. Next up is Decompilation is Censored, and this relates to the recent leak of the Super Mario 64 source code being leaked entirely online due to the Nintendo Giga Leak that happened over the past few months. This outbreak caused fully functional PC ports that supported 60 FPS and widescreen support cracked by modders. The censorship portion of this theory might deal with the fact that a lot of the data that wasn't a part of the initial commercial cartridge release of the game was hidden and encrypted away in the source code. An example of this is how Luigi's model and voice clips were encrypted, and people across the internet decrypted said folders belonging to him in order to restore him. The cult of simple flips likely refers to the influx of hacking tools and the ROM hack community contests brought to by speedrunner and entertainer Simple Flips' focus on Mario 64. Though he doesn't have a cult per se, his own community is easily one of the best in the Mario 64 community, in my opinion. Wet Dry World Negative Aura and Brain Diagram. The negative aura details how Wet Dry World is apparently infamous for its unnerving and abandoned aesthetics. Players have had unnerving experiences or memories within the existence and setting of the level, with the level containing no NPCs, a bizarre atmosphere not fitting to any other of the levels, etc. The brain diagram part of this theory, or the brain that appears in the level, is of this image, which is supposedly in the game's files. But a quick search through the textures of the game, both in the retail release and in the leaked source code, reveals that this texture does not exist at all. I'll also talk about both of these theories later on, more in depth. The Wario apparition. Like the last one, I'll dive into this topic a little later, but for now, this topic originated from a frame from Nintendo's Focused on Fun panel during an E3 press in the 90s. That panel spawned tons of mock-up videos that replicate this scene, but actually in Mario 64 in the Dire Docks painting room. Finally, in Layer 4, we have one of the most infamous topics, build July 29th, 1995. Supposedly, there was an earlier build of the game that had a really bad replicable texture glitch that would cause textures to rapidly change colors. Nothing else is truly documented on this build of the game outside of tempting viewers of the Iceberg not to research deep into the topic. But in saying this, it hasn't stopped people from speculating on the build itself and is going as far to create their own videos or documented VHS tapes recording gameplay of said build. These videos contain disturbing imagery containing the Wario apparition, a playable Luigi, scrapped levels, the fourth floor, beta elements fully featured, and other elements that some have labeled as their own personalized copies of the game, which I will discuss later in the video. Before we move on, the only theories we couldn't find anything for or just flat out didn't understand were Big Busan's music is from a snuff film, The Shack, corrupt microcode incident, wind chime soundscape, the wing cap level is used for corpse storage, and 0.1 A presses. That concludes Layer 4. We now enter the final layer of the iceberg, and these theories are extremely bizarre, but also really interesting. The theories here don't have any relation to Freud's iceberg as well, so I'm just going to skip over it and get right into it. First of all, I'll mention some throwaway theories, mostly because these ones are a little insignificant to some of the bigger theories in this layer. Starting, we have White-Eyed Chomp. This picture accompanying the theory could possibly be a draw distance error with the chain chomp, causing the textures of the pupils to be removed, leaving only white or it's just a horrible Photoshop. Nintendo already hired that man is just a joke, it's just a meme, and it doesn't really mean anything. It mocks YouTube videos that place Mario in an Unreal Engine loaded environment, or even builds that have higher resolution graphics for Mario 64 or other games. People will say in the comments section how they want Nintendo to hire the creator of the work, because it looks better than what Nintendo puts out. This also turned into a meme, so it's really pointless here. Sequel cancelled due to leaks doesn't make sense because there was no specific leak for the sequel of Mario 64, but plans of there being bigger and better levels along with multiplayer were discussed by Miyamoto himself, but eventually the game got canned due to the Nintendo 64 disk drive selling poorly. PlayStation emulator hidden on the cartridge is a theory that is completely false. Anyone who knows about this game's emulation can confirm it's fake. So moving on. Speedrunning glitches are a feature. Not necessarily, but the only feature is that Mario's backward speed isn't capped, causing speedrunning glitches like backwards long jumps to happen. They're not a highlighted feature of the game, it's just a bug that wasn't fixed in the initial release, but it was fixed in the Shindu version. Shared Nightmares doesn't have any specific ties to itself as a theory, more so just a statement on the player's experiences. A lot of children in the 90s played this game growing up, as well as kids in the early 2000s with Mario 64 DS, so their experiences and interpretations of the game and how they played it will most likely transfer into their dreams. It's just psychology. Some documented forum posts details players having unsettling memories about their experiences with the game. Some remember the piano in Big Boo's Haunt, which is iconic. Some remember other levels and elements that made their experiences unnerving and having nightmares about them, and other players agreeing that they're also experiencing the same nightmares. Now we can move on to the more interesting theories in this layer. Anything Special refers to a Nintendo of America letter that was sent to a fan in 1998. This letter seemingly deconfirms the Ella's real theory, but also mentions a Big Boo sound that you can hear when you kick the Bowser picture. The sound effect in question is apparently not a clue or a hint to anything special, but is still a complete mystery. The letter may have been used as a scare tactic to fool players, as Nintendo and other game companies have done this thing before, such as Mew hiding under the truck in Pokemon Red and Blue, and the Crow Demon scandal from Dark Souls. NFR cartridge differences. NFR stands for Not for Resale. These cartridges were used if a store had a playable demo of the games before and after the standard release of a game. As for the differences in the Mario 64 NFR cart, nothing. No differences between both releases outside of the labeling, so I'm not really sure what this theory is discussing. Kellogg's Anomaly. To promote the release of Mario 64, select Kellogg cereals in 1996 contained 5 collectible promo cards explaining certain aspects of Mario 64. The anomaly in this theory discussing most likely has to deal with how the penguin models look. The artwork is taken from Cool Cool Mountain, it seems, although only one big penguin exists in the main level itself. The penguin's model also seems really off from the final model, which is true because the artwork is based off of the penguins in earlier builds of the game. Delicious Cake refers to a line of unused text in the debug core select that's located between level names for the Secret Aquarium and the Castle Secret Stars. This could be a finished unused Castle Secret Star level, like the Aquarium and Slide, and only holds 1 star since it's located between other 2 Secret Star levels. Mexican Test Build refers to 2 images from the Wacko SDK leak. They appear to show early designs for bob-ombs and trees, as well as an old placeholder player model that's located in the N64 dev kit with a sombrero. This is confirmed fake, however. Miyamoto stole Mario 64 from Argonaut. Argonaut Software, mostly known for their development with the Super FX chip, Star Fox, and the cancelled Star Fox 2, in the mid-90s they pitched a 3D Mario game to Nintendo, but the company declined. This was the base for Mario FX, which Miyamoto took interest in. During this time, Argonaut was developing a game called Yoshi Racing, and according to Jez San, the founder of Argonaut, influenced Mario 64 somehow. Apparently even having the same look and feel of the prototype. The game eventually got cancelled though, and rumor has it that once Miyamoto made those cancellations on Star Fox 2, he somehow stole the source code from Yoshi Racing to work on Mario 64. Internal plexus of the castle. Back in May 2020, when me and my friends were researching the iceberg, this one caught our attention the most because we couldn't find anything about it. At first we thought it might refer to an internal vertebrae Venice plexus and those type of diagrams, due to its familiar shape to the main floor of the castle. Turns out the unsettling images accompanying the theory came with a video and I think a ROM hack created by Skellux, where he took each floor and each room of the castle inside and overlaid it with the castle grounds to test and see how it would look. That's where these bizarre photos came from. Fourth floor. This refers to a series of images showing multiple boos in an unknown section of Peach's castle. Confirmed fake as well. And finally, the last two theories on Layer 5 are stlayer.info, and every copy of Mario 64 is perfect. Just like the previous layer, here are the theories that we couldn't find anything on. We concluded that most of these theories were just made up and slapped on just to add mystery or a creepy effect. Those are SM6, Toads Are Watching, Enchanted SC88 Samples, Shifting Sandland 911 Predictive Programming, Real Peach, Lavender Town and Polybius Cover-Up, CERN Vanish Cap Signal, and Imprisoned Koopa the Quick. That concludes Layer 5. That concludes the second part of the series, and I just want to say a couple of final thoughts on the iceberg as a whole, just like I did last time with some final thoughts. But once again, I know that it's not an ARG, I just slapped it on the title because I think it sounded cool, and I think it just needed an appropriate title, because at the time last May, it was a little bit of a big event, and it's easier just to label it as an ARG, because it was still ongoing, it was an ongoing mystery that was developing. But speaking of the time difference between then and now, it was fun riding the wave of this mystery and researching everything with all my friends, because it was something we could do. We all love that game, we all love Mario 64, so it was just really fun being like, wow, this is a thing that exists, but let's try to find out the reason why. It was nice spending a couple days digging through the internet trying to find all these different things, and it was amazing just to see how much of, I guess I want to just say the community as a whole created so many different unique projects like Greenio's tapes, the Beta Archive, and Mario Nova, all sorts of stuff. And I know there's drama with the community in terms of stuff like that, but it's just amazing to see how much creativity was poured out just because of this one topic. And I know that the hype around this died a lot throughout the year, because you look at people making content about the iceberg last year around this time, and now this year, it's very, very scarce. And I know that it died. I lost a lot of motivation to finish this part, but I figured that I'd still put it out there just because of how much progress I already had on the video. And for those not aware, I posted on my Twitter that I had started working on this video the same time last year, like immediately after I finished part 1, and I got that far in it. I was like 17 minutes out of the 27 minute, however long this video is, and I just stopped working. I lost complete motivation, and then I come back to it and I was like, okay, might as well finish it, right? Because it's pretty well finished. But yeah, I lost a lot of motivation on the way. I don't want to keep it sour, right? I don't want to keep this little tangent being like, I lost a lot of motivation, and that's why it's not out. I just got lazy. It's like, I don't know. It was pretty well finished. I just didn't
don't know. And since not a lot of people are going to make it to this video just because the analytics are the first, I know, there is going to be a third part. I'm not going to detail much about it, but I do have info on stlayer that I'm pretty certain not a whole lot of people have. I've checked into a lot of people, I guess, trying to document stlayer, and all they have is like a couple of scattered photos and every music sample. I have a lot more than that, and I didn't even have to use Wayback Machine because me and my friends already went into the fucking source code. I wouldn't say source code now, but we were searching and we got a bit. So I don't know when part 3 is going to be out. It could be within the next week. It could be within the next year. I don't know, but it's going to happen. I wanted to separate part 2 and part 3's topics because layer 4 and 5 were just so much content. I didn't want to cram this important chunk of research into the last section of the video because not a lot of people are going to see it, right? So I might as well make a third. Either way, thanks for watching again. I know that it took a while for this video to come out, but I'll make a third just to conclude it. And I don't care how much of the topic has died down, I still kind of want to. It's just an interesting topic to me. But yeah, thanks for watching part 2 of this now 3-part series. Stay tuned for the next installation. This is XSword64 signing off.